So guys, it is Monday and I've got my delivery. So this is a new SSR relay which going to be replaced in a minute. But before I continue working with the integral bolster chef, I want to show something that might be interesting, and of course I hope it will be helpful for those who have DIY oven. So I'm going to show you the difference between the good one and the bad one. Since this is the connector, let's say, which using the signal close the circuit in normal state, so like this one, without any electric signal from outside, this should be opened, so there should be no sound because there is no connection between those two pins. However, sometimes happen that if this broke, you have and the thing is that this is exactly the situation from mine oven. We've got our knife and it is not normalized yet, and I'm going to do a few things that are maybe unusual. But first of all, I said before that this is not easy steel, this is not dummy steel, and the thing is that the normalization for the NC6 is a little bit different than most of steel, because inside there is 1.4% of carbon, so it is super high carbon steel, and this steel require high temperature of normalization. So the oven is set to 970 degrees Celsius and I'm going to bake it for 6 minutes only. And the second thing, which is super important and very unusual, I'm going to make only one cycle. This sucks. I guess this is the moment when I can say, for the first time, knife makers don't make mistakes, they just make smaller knives. Plan is to save it and cut a lot of it. So I would say that this is a huge waste of material, because we've started from 10 inches long blade. And right now it is about 6, but still I am not going to throw out this blade. I'm gonna save it. I would say that it's still looking good, but there is one thing that sucks. I will leave it without a comment. But what is interesting, and I will focus on that, sorry this will be boring, is that the grain structure on the heel is significantly better, still not perfect, but significantly better than on the tip. And if I can confirm that this part is super duper bad with the hardness tester, and this part is significantly better with the hardness tester, that means that I can use the hardness tester as a tool to verify the grain structure without making a breaking test. And this is, I would say, super valuable, because right now every time I do some grain structure breaking test, just to be sure that, you know, knife is well made. We know that the grain structure on the tip is worse than on the heel, and also we know that the same condition on the test piece made it 64 HRC, so exactly the same what Ironworks declare, and the grain structure on the test piece is perfect. So my theory is that the inside of the oven near the back door, back wall, there is slightly higher temperature than on the front, and it is makes sense because the most inefficient wall on the oven is the door, and the temperature goes out from the space between the door and the rest of the oven. In this case, it is something that makes the grain structure better. So actually what I think is, because I put the blade on the oven tip to the back wall, it just get overheated during the normalizing cycle and probably also during the soaking before the quench. So the tip is damaged and the heel is good. I should break the tongue to verify if the grain structure is okay, but I didn't heat treated it. I didn't quench hold the knife, I just quenched the blade, so I can verify it. But I'm going to cut the blade again, remove the crack, and I'm going to anneal it, normalizing, quench it, and we are going to test it again. But I will set the oven to a little lower temperature. So the first attempt was on the tip 62, on the middle, in the middle 61 and 56 HRC on the Re-quenching. After annealing and re-quenching, we have 64 on the tip, 63 on the middle, and 61 on the Re-quenching. But on the Re-quenching there is another crack. After tempering, because I set the oven to 200 degrees Celsius, but it is super not accurate, so it probably was about 280. The color suggested it is blue and magenta, so it should be around 58, 57, and in fact it is on the tip, on the tip 57, 58, depends on the place. Near the spine it is about 58, on the edge it is 57, on the middle is about 58, 59, and on the ricasso is 52, 55, which means that if the theory is correct, there should be relatively good grain structure on the tip and on the middle, but on the ricasso it should be relatively coarse grain structure because of the crack, and also because of the lower HRC. I think that the bolster, because it is a huge amount of steel, actually it slower the rising of the temperature on the ricasso, so when the blade reach the temperature, the bolster is still not hot enough. So actually the normalization for the ricasso require a little bit more time than on the tip. Also, because I put the blade to the oven, tip to the door, so reverse than the first attempt, I assume that on the tank there might be slightly worse grain structure than on the tip. The same like was at the first attempt, but the tip was worse than the ricasso. I am not going to finish this knife. This knife is going to be used as a test example. I'm going to break it in few places to check the grain structure on each part of the blade, also on the tongue, and if it's possible, maybe in the bolster. But what you need to know is that NC6 is not the steel I used many times. I've made only 2 knives from NC6 steel, and they were gifts to members of my family. I literally don't use steel I don't know for the knives I want to sell. So yes, I will say it loud. I'm going to work with NC6, and if I find the way to make the perfect grain structure, the proper HRC, and I will be sure that the knife from NC6 made by my hands is perfect, I'm going to start selling knives from NC6. But yes, in this moment I cannot say that this knife is good. We will see how bad it is, and I believe that this might be a very interesting and valuable lesson also for you. Look at this, guys. This is absolutely freaking awesome. Wow. Come on. So guys, this is a knife. Knife is in pieces, and it was a very tough lesson, but also very valuable. because right now I know how to heat treat the NC6 steel, and without these cracks I think I can make it good. My theory about the cracks is that they happened when I was forging the blade, and it was already there before the quench, the first and the second quench. NC6 is steel which like to crack during the forging, and it is super sensitive to overheating during the forging. So maybe it was when I was creating a knife, not after the quench, but when I was forging. Still, NC6 is the steel I want to focus on. It is very good steel, but not a dummy one. With this result, I think I can go on and make another knife. I don't know what kind of knife it will be. Just let me know down in the comment what would you like to see. And in this episode, this is all. I believe that the oven works okay. Maybe it was just about not long enough normalizing cycle, because NC6 is not like O2, it's not like 10 something, it is not like 5160, 5200. It is one of the most carbonized steel that is on the market. 1.4% of carbon. It is huge. So it requires a little bit different methodology. Guys, this is all. Have a great day, and we see you on the next one.